The year was 2017, and 3 months before this event, I had moved out from my parents' house to live with my girlfriend. Since my girlfriend went on a girls' trip for a few days, I was alone in this house. But I didn't even have time to enjoy my alone time because I was working 2 jobs. I usually arrive home at 10 p.m. and go to sleep as soon as I arrive. This night it was different. While I was driving my car, I decided to play my favorite game on my PC, Counter-Strike. When I return home, it's been months since I played it, and it was my favorite game at the time. I arrive home, quickly made some sandwiches to eat while gaming, and went upstairs in my room to play for a bit. While I was playing, I've heard someone knocking on my door. At first I thought it was my imagination. After I took off my headphones just to make sure, I heard 2 knocks again. I was really pissed off because I was really tired from my job. I wasn't in the mood and wanted to have some quiet time. I opened the door and no one was there. The streets were empty. Not a single living soul was there. I closed the door and went to my room. I thought maybe it was neighbors' kids playing some pranks on me. While I was playing the game, it came to my mind, those can't be kids, because usually when kids play some prank, you can hear them running away and laughing, as every kid does. But this was very different. It had a strange vibe. After a few minutes, I would hear it again. This time, the knocking was louder. I went to open the door, and again, no one was there. I was wondering who could be knocking on my door at this time. It was near 11 p.m., and most people at this time are sleeping. I locked my door and decided to just ignore it while I'm playing. Few minutes after this, I heard someone running down my hallway, and it was really loud and fast-paced. In that moment, I was frozen. I was questioning everything. I know I locked my door. Maybe someone went into my house, but I didn't hear it. I decided to go and check in. At the end of the hallway, there is one large window that we have, and it was wide opened. Whoever that was probably jumped from there, but that window is upstairs and my house is tall, so if someone tried to jump from that window, I'm sure they would break every single bone in their body, or at the very least hear some noise. I went outside to check, but there was nothing. Not a single trail of someone being there. From that moment, I wasn't able to sleep normally for days. This story happened 7 years ago. I told my girlfriend, who is now my wife, this story, and since that day, neither of us had even similar experience. Me and my now ex-wife have divorced, and since we were living at her parents' house, who are really wealthy and had this giant house where we were all living together, I needed to move out and find a place for myself, while my ex-wife and our 2 kids stayed with her. I found this small house at the outskirts of the town and bought it. Even though it's a small house, it's pretty enough for me. I don't need giant luxurious houses, it's too much for me. Here I had everything I needed, especially peace. There are only few houses in the neighborhood, so you could say that it's the perfect place for someone like me. I work as a truck driver, and I'm not at home for the most of the time since I'm always on the road. 7 days after buying it, I was at the house by myself eating some pizza and watching some TV show. All of a sudden, someone rang the doorbell. At first, I found it strange, since I don't know any of the people that live near here. When I opened the door, some old lady was standing there, but she didn't seem suspicious to me. She wanted to get to know me since I bought house next to hers. She was asking me some basic small talk questions like, who am I? Where did I come from? And so on. We had a nice talk for a few minutes. Then few days after this, I was at home. It was probably a Sunday around 9 p.m. I was home watching cowboy movies on my TV and eating some pizza. Then I heard someone's car near my house. It was really loud. If I was sleeping, I'm pretty sure it would wake me up. After going outside to check in, to see what is going on, I see this car parked in my yard. The scariest part is that the car engine and the lights were off. I looked around, and the streets were pretty empty as usual. You can see hardly anyone over here, and to be honest, the neighborhood is pretty quiet. I circled around my house to check, but there was no one. I also looked through car's window to see if there's anyone. But when I looked, the car was empty. Now I was really scared. I had so many questions. I decided to go inside the house and to continue watching a movie. About half an hour later, I subconsciously glanced at my door and saw someone's shadow. Like whoever that was had very spiky hair. Immediately, I ran to open the door to see who is that. I could hear him laughing now. I opened the door and no one was there. Now I was really mad at whoever this was. I searched the car, but there was no one. It seemed like this person just disappeared. A few days later, I asked my neighbors, but they didn't see anyone or hear that car a few days prior. This story happened 2 years ago. I was only 14. I was staying alone at the house. My parents and my younger sister went to visit my grandma and stayed at her house for 2 days. This meant that I had enough time to do whatever I want. And to be honest with you, I was really looking forward to it. It was around 9 p.m. when I was returning from my football training session. I was riding my bicycle and decided to stop by grocery store. I bought some snacks and energy drinks because tonight I will stay awake for longer than usual since my parents aren't home. After arriving home, I hopped on Discord and played Call of Duty with my friends. At first, it was an awesome evening, but 2 hours later, someone rang the doorbell. When I heard it, I was frozen. At the time, I was 14 and didn't know what to think of it. I was really scared. It was pretty unusual for anyone to be awake at this time and to be in front of my house. I told my friends that someone rang the doorbell, and at first, they thought I was pranking them or something. But after I convinced them that there is someone in front of my house, they told me that it's probably just a neighbor or someone who is looking for my parents. They told me to go and to see who is there. I was scared, but still decided to go there and open the door. After opening the door, there was no one. But after I looked closely, I could see an old man standing at the middle of my yard. He was probably about 60 years old. I have never seen this man. He was looking all confused. I stood there frozen and asked him, "What do you want, sir?" At first, he didn't answer. But after coming to me, he asked me, "Are you Jasper?" My name wasn't Jasper, so I told him, "I'm not Jasper, sir, good night." I closed my door and went into my room to tell my friends. I was literally shaking. I could barely speak. My friends told me to lock all the doors and windows in the house. It seemed like that old man had left, but I still couldn't properly focus on the game. Then, after 20 minutes of playing, I could hear the doorbell again. I knew it was that old man again, and this time I could hear him calling for me. I started to panic. I didn't know what that old man wanted. I told him I'm not Jasper or whoever he's looking for. My friends told me calm down and to call the police. Police arrived quickly, but it seemed like that old man wasn't there. He just disappeared and was never seen again.